Okay, so today's session, I was inspired by this quote that I heard while attending a yoga class. And it says here, it is the empty space which makes a bowl useful, by Lao Tzu. And many of you who've been on this program with me would know that I've quoted Lao Tzu many times. He wrote these scriptures called Tao Te Ching, which really apparently is the most translated scripture other than the Bible, and it's really about the way of life and how to live a peaceful, equanimous and joyful life. So coming back to this quote on the fact that a bowl is only useful because of its empty space, it really, I guess, inspired me to think about what I wanted to share today, which is really the fact that if we can actually become aware of the space around us and the stillness behind the sound, we can actually deepen our mindfulness practice. So we know that in mindfulness, what we're saying is that we just want to pay attention, paying attention to what's here right now and not judging. So when we pay attention, say, with our sight, we can look at things, we can look at our hands, we can look at the phone or the laptop in front of us, and when we're really being mindful, we're really paying attention to that object of our attention. You might have heard me say our anchor, the anchor that brings us right here, right now. That is a very effective way to pay attention to an object. And I often encourage my people who listen to me, my participants, to even look at the clouds, the sky, and that can bring us to this present moment right here, right now. But another way of really getting us to be even more attentive and getting us into that sense of spaciousness and stillness is actually to become aware of the space. So what I encourage you to do now, maybe even as you're looking at your phone or you're looking at me on your technology, can you actually notice the space between your eyes, where you are, and your device? Can you actually notice the space? And it's this space that we have around us that's everywhere that makes the device the device. It took me a long time to actually, and maybe I'm just slow, it took me a long time to actually realize that. And so from time to time now, during the day, sometimes I actually remind myself to notice the space. And it's the space around us that is allowing us to actually have a room. A room is not a room just because of the walls, but because of the space. And that can get you into a deeper stillness. And some of you may have heard me talk about a teacher that I revere called David Hawkins, and he talked about how our mind is often so busy with the monkey chatter, and I don't know where he got these statistics from, but he said actually only 1% of our mind is actually noisy. 99% of it is really quiet. And if you can pay attention to that silence in your mind, you immediately come to a point where you can be still. And that was a light bulb moment for me, because somehow it clicked for me, and I often now tell myself to listen to the silence in my mind. So whilst we have this popcorn machine in our mind that just pops out thoughts all the time, the beauty and the power of mindfulness, or actually the technique really, is not about trying to suppress the thoughts or trying to get rid of the thoughts or control the thoughts, but it's really about transcending. It took me a long time. When I started studying yoga 15 years ago, I remember this book that I was reading, and it talks about transcendence, and I looked up dictionary of the meaning, and even though I kind of understood the words, I didn't understand the meaning. It took me a long time to understand the meaning of transcendence. And what we're really trying to do when we practice mindfulness is to transcend the thoughts, so that we know the thoughts are still there. The mind is always going to come up with lots of thoughts, but there is an ability within us to transcend those thoughts and come into that quiet space, that spacious awareness. And when we are able to do that, and it's a work in progress, it's really not easy at all. But to me, by practicing what it does, it just reminds me to do it more regularly in the day. I think there are scientific studies that shows that actually we spend more than 50% of our time daydreaming, in thinking about the past, worrying about the future. Less than 50% of our time is spent in the present moment. And when we can transcend thoughts and become really aware of whether it's the object or whether it's the space of silence around us, that's when we can be present. And what is the outcome of being able to do that is that then whatever we're experiencing, we can experience it fully, and at the same time without judging, without attachment, without that grasping, and without getting caught up. Whether it's a wonderful thing that is happening to us in that moment or a really horrible thing that is happening in that moment, we just don't get so caught up. And we then we have that choice of becoming that observer. And recently I was reading a study on this person called Judson Brewer, and there's a YouTube video on his research. So basically he's a thought leader in habit change and science of self-mastery, and he's done a lot of research on addiction. And what he's found is that actually mindfulness practices is so effective on helping people get out of their addiction, because he was talking about a group of smokers, and where again we're not trying to force anything with mindfulness. It's all about allowing, accepting, and then being that quiet observer. And so with this group of smokers, he said, well, just smoke, go ahead and smoke, but see if you could smoke mindfully. See if you could really smoke mindfully. And what these smokers actually found was that, there was one person who said, well, actually when I smoke mindfully, I realized that the smoke smells like bad cheese, and what I'm tasting in my mouth is chemicals, and that's what made her stop smoking. And so there is so much power in just being present. And one technique that I'm sharing with you today is really, other than just being aware of looking at your object, is that spacious awareness. Okay, so that's the talk for today. So now I invite you to close your eyes. And just notice how the body feels right now. Now I invite you to just become aware of your breath. Where are you noticing your breath? And for the next few moments, see if you could just follow your breath with the beginner's mind. Every breath is fresh, it's new, it's different. What are you noticing about that breath? And the next one. Can you use this breath to create more space? in the body. Using this breath to create more space between each thought. Sense that when you're breathing in, you are aware that you're breathing in. When you're breathing out, you are aware that you're breathing out. Without this awareness, there would be no perception. Now I'd like you to let go of the breath and see if you could listen out for the silence around you. And maybe to begin with, you may just notice the sounds around you. For me, it's raining outside, so I can hear the rain. I'm bringing my attention to the silence that's underneath the rain. Might wander off into thinking. That's okay. Very normal. You guide the attention back. And you have a choice. Attention back to your breath again. Attention back to the sounds around you. Or attention back to the stillness that you can sense. When you're able to listen to the silence, it awakens the dimension of stillness that is within you. Because it is only through stillness that that you can become aware of the silence. And now I invite you to bring your attention to your heart space. And for the next 3 breaths, I invite you to breathe into your heart space and allowing that out breath to be longer, and see what happens as you do that to the space around your heart, to the sensations that you feel around your heart. So almost as if when you're breathing out, you're surrendering, you're telling yourself to let go, to let be. And as if all the stresses and all the old stale energy, the 1,000 years of conditioning of our mind is being washed away with that out breath into the earth, creating space in our heart, creating space in our mind. I invite you now to bring to mind something or someone that makes you smile, that makes you feel life is worth living. Just also then bring a smile to your face and feel that sense of openness and joyfulness in your heart as you recall and reflect on this person or this event, this thing. And as you dwell in this gratitude and joyfulness in your heart, I will bring you back to this room with the sound of 3 bells. Welcome back, everyone. So here's a quote from Eckhart Tolle. Stillness is another word for space. Your innermost sense of self, of who you are, is inseparable from stillness. So today, look at a tree, look at a flower or plant or anything. Take yourself out to nature, possible. I know it's raining. Hopefully it clears up some point, but there's some of you from Canberra in here, so I don't know what the weather is like, but hopefully you can even just look out the window and just allow nature to teach you stillness. I've got this book called Stillness Speaks from Eckhart, and he also says, and I've heard this many a times, from many teachers who says true intelligence operates silently. Stillness is where creativity and solutions to problems are found. And with that, I thank you all for showing up. And if you have any questions or any feedback on the sessions, please email me. I love to hear, what works, what doesn't, what you like to hear more about. And I really enjoy preparing for these sessions every week, because as I research and reflect and contemplate, I too get so much fulfillment out of it. So thank you for being here, everyone. Namaste. Have a good day.